Hello and welcome to Streamline Scale and Soar. Are you ready? Are you ready to take your business to a whole nother level? Well, over this 4-week masterclass, we're going to build an engine. Now, why is this important? Well, it was simple before. If you wanted a CRM, you could go to HubSpot or Zoho or something like that. Maybe you got busier. You're looking for ways to streamline your business. So you want to do an email campaign. So maybe you do MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that. And then when you get really fancy back in the day and you wanted to do some autoresponding, you do something like Aweber. Well, because of the proliferation of technology, it's become really difficult to know what to do to scale your business, let alone to actually be able to do that in a way that you are not burnt out. So, what we're going to cover over the next 4 weeks is a framework that I designed myself out of the frustration of wanting to be able to build a strong, sustainable business. I had spent lots of time out there in the community where all the coaching and the consulting and everything was taking place, but there always seemed to be something missing. My name is Jewel T. Lennard, and for over 20 years, I have worked to provide high ROI marketing technology solutions to large automotive manufacturers, solopreneurs, and small business owners. And I'm excited to be able to bring the same knowledge and tools and techniques to you as a growth stage founder so that you can apply those to your business and take your business to a whole nother level. So before I get into the presentation, couple things. One is if you are in the midst of the process of growing your business and you just need someone to talk to, just want to bounce something off, then go ahead and schedule a Boss Connect chat. It's absolutely free. And so that is a way for you to be able to connect with me. And I'll put a link down below once we get started. So other thing is that if you did not register in advance, the slides for this presentation will be sent out after this event. So make sure if you haven't done so already that you go ahead and register. So now let's get into the content. Why do you need to build a revenue engine? And where does that even come from? Well, the reasons why we want to build an engine are multiple, because building an engine takes these little things that are pieces of our business that we can't quite plug together in the sense of like a puzzle piece. It takes it and it puts them into a consistent system and process so we don't have to think about how we're monetizing our product or service. So here's some reasons why you might want to have a revenue engine. You're getting leads, but they're not converting. You need some automation, but you really don't know where to start. You are spending too much time on marketing and not enough time on selling your service or product. You're relying on referrals and you need a way to capture them. Or maybe you feel like you're hustling all the time, but can't quite put your finger on how to create consistent revenue for your business. Or even you got that tech stack with all those tools, but it's just too much and you're still losing track of your leads. The other reasons are I need to scale, but I'm worried about breaking. You got a little something working, but you don't want to break that. You're growing, you've got the growing pains, but you're worried about breaking what you already have. You want to change, you want to charge more for your services, but you're really not sure how to position them properly. Or you know that your business could grow faster if you had your follow-up game together. This is where I was. And you need some client nurturing systems, but you're not quite sure what to do. And finally, you feel like you're consistently reinventing the wheel and having to repeat things over and over again. These are some reasons why you want to build a revenue engine. And these are things that the Streamline and Scale framework will absolutely help you to do for your business. And there is one other really important thing that we want to do, the reason why we want to have a revenue engine, and that is so that we can prevent burnout. Because let's face it, over time, it gets to be much to have to manage all these activities and grow your business, and it can take a toll on your mental health. So we want to be on top of that. So now, before we go too deep into this, and again, one of the things I forgot to mention is for these events, I want to keep it to just about 30 minutes. So I don't want to go long because you got homework already, right? Because remember, we are building, or you are building, an engine for your business based on the framework. So I want to give you time to get the information and then apply the information. And each week, the work that you do outside of this masterclass is going to fuel the work that we do after. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. To have a common definition on scalability for this discussion is important, though, because scalability means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And sometimes it depends on what level your business is at. Sometimes it just depends on your strategy. For some people, you may be scaling your product. You may be scaling your infrastructure. You can scale your geography. You can scale the demographics. You can scale anything. But for purposes of this discussion, as we are building this revenue engine, what we're talking about in terms of scalability is having the ability to increase your revenue and your demand without having a decrease in efficiency. So I should just read this, should I? So trying to improvise. Scalability is the ability of a business system or process to handle increasing demand, growth, or workload efficiently and sustainably without a proportional increase in cost, time, or effort. In other words, when you're ready to grow and you're ready to move and you're increasing your business, you shouldn't have to do that at the cost of profit. We want to stay profitable, right? So that's in essence what we're talking about. Now, what that looks like in execution, what scalability means when we're actually executing is this: more revenue without overwhelming your operations, right? You've got the ability to increase your volume without breaking stuff. Right? That's really what it is. You have increased customer capacity without sacrificing quality. In other words, you probably are jamming if you have 10 customers. Maybe you're jamming at 100 or 1,000. But when you get to 10,000, are you going to be able to handle it? How will you do that? So being scalable is something that's going to prepare you so that, and having that scalability mindset will prepare you for the growth to come. And the other thing is, you want to leverage scalability means you're leveraging automation and technology and efficiency instead of just adding more work. It's not, we used to have in corporate, there used to be this thing, oh, well, you need more stuff done. Everybody would always want to ask for more people. Well, you don't always need more people. You don't always need more resources. Sometimes you can just do things more efficiently and do a lot more with it. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about building a revenue engine. We're talking about building scalability into our business. And I personally believe scalability is not just for startups, it's for every business. I just want to make this one point and then I'm going to move on. And that is that when you build scalability into your business from the beginning, in other words, you adopt a mindset of scalability, then what you will make sure to do is that you will always be mindful of what needs to happen next to move you to the next level. If you don't build your business with scalability, in other words, you're not thinking about how do I build capacity into my business, you're going to grow anyway. But when you grow, you're going to have to hire a consultant. You're going to have to train them on your business. You're going to have to wait for them to give you a report on your business. Then they're going to probably give you a plan for your business that's going to cost you more money. And then you're going to have to wait the time for implementation. And guess what you're not doing while all that is happening? You're not building your business. So it's so much more efficient, so much more focused, and a smart move to build scalability in from the outset so that when you're ready to scale, it's just a smooth transition. For founders, coaches, and consultants and freelancers, scalability is what separates the hustle for every sale from predictable revenue. And that's where we want to have an engine. All right, now I'm going to introduce you to the Streamline Scale Framework. We're going to use this framework as a guide to build your engine. This is an iterative process. It's like layering fragrance. You start with a little bit, and as you grow, then you'll get it to the right place for you. So it's not something that should be overwhelming. It's not something that you have to get perfect right out the gate, but it is something that you want to take seriously and pay attention to, because it is in this process that you will be able to build a business that's sustainable and scalable. And you better take your business to a whole nother level. So how the framework will empower you. First thing is you're going to have measurable and scalable systems. And you're going to be able to build data-driven processes that grow with your business. This is not something that you've been able to do all along, and all of a sudden now you're just picking it up. We didn't have the ability to collect the data before. we had a few tools that we could use. And as founders, we didn't really have all that information. And we have a tendency to farm out a lot of our marketing to other people. And so our data is off in other people's businesses, in other people's systems. And what we want to do is be empowered to take back our data so we can use that data to build our business. And so we're going to create an engine that's going to allow us to have measurable and scalable systems. The second thing is we want to have full visibility into revenue operations. We want to get this 30,000 foot level view of everything, not just marketing, which is what we tend to focus on when we get a new marketing campaign or a new tool. We don't want to just focus on marketing. We want to look at the whole revenue operations, so sales, marketing, and the customer journey together, because that is your engine. And then finally, we're going to be able to target our problem solving. So we'll be able to identify key bottlenecks and focus on the highest impact areas for growth versus what maybe we do today, which is what I used to do is, oh, I need to have help with following up on my leads. Oh, let me go get a CRM. Well, wait a minute. There's a whole process behind delivering my product or service that I haven't even considered with just a single tool. So I don't know what problem I'm solving. I don't know what problem I have because it could be the marketing, but it could be something else. So this is the Streamline Scale Framework. I created this framework back in May last year. It became apparent to me that there was more going on in my business than just marketing. And that to the extent that I had the skill and the ability to focus in on those things that were affecting my business, to that extent, I would be successful. But there really wasn't a lot in terms of, and I've done a lot of coaching and consulting, but there wasn't really a lot available in terms of looking at the whole picture at the level that I am as a founder. Now, there's some ultra influencers out there. There's Alex and Layla Hermosi. You got Dan Martell. You got, of course, Gary Vee and a whole host of other people. But they're not where I am today. So even though they have really good advice and it's really interesting and it really will help my business at some point, it was not something that was going to be actionable for me today. So what the Streamline Scale Framework does is it says, here's what we need to focus on to have a whole view of our business. And so when I came up with this, it was just the 4 quadrants were system, marketing, sales, and customer. But what I discovered is that these terms are so generic that you may or may not fully have an understanding of what they really represent in your business. And so, and I had this new brand that had the rocket ship in it. And I wanted to come up with some acronyms, which I hated acronyms when I was in corporate. Just let me, oh, what acronym is it today, right? It's the alphabet soup. But I really wanted to have a way to communicate this framework in a way that it made sense, in a way that it would resonate with founders, coaches, consultants, and freelancers. And so we came up with the acronym of SOAR. So system, it stayed the same. It's the S. And there's some key clarifying questions that we will answer. And this is your homework to help you to develop the framework for your business, the outline of your revenue engine. And then each week we're going to go deep. We'll go deep into each quadrant. But so system, outreach, here in the upper right quadrant, we went from marketing to outreach. Because marketing is not just having a CRM. Marketing is not just having some ads. Marketing is much more than that. But because we, as founders, are focused in on, oh, we just need leads, oh, we just need customers, and because there is a very ample supply of people who are willing to tell us they will get us those customers, we have not necessarily always taken the view to understand our target audience. We don't really understand a lot of the elements of marketing that make those marketing activities successful. And so when we go out into market to reach out and let people know about what we do to get marketing qualified leads, which we're going to talk about that in week 2 next week, we don't always have the right messaging and a lot of other things. So what we're doing, we're really outreach. So anything could be outreach. It can be, back in the day, someone would knock on your door. That could be outreach. So instead of marketing as a term that just means give me customers to get me leads, we should look at marketing as outreach and letting people, taking someone who doesn't know about what you do, turning them, warming them up into knowing about what you do, and then converting them through the next quadrant to become customers. Now, sales, everyone has views about what sales is. And so the acronym for sales that we adopted is the letter A in Soar, and that's for acquisition. So we're not just trying to sell people stuff. Sales can sometimes have a negative connotation. We all know we sell, you've been selling since you were a baby and you wanted to get ice cream, you know what I'm saying? But acquisition is more accurate because what we're trying to do is take that marketing qualified lead from the orange quadrant and turn them into a customer in the white quadrant, right? And that's acquisition. And then finally, in the navy quadrant, we went from customer to retention. And it's really 2 R's. It's retention and referral. Because in my mind, I don't really have a good customer until I get a referral. If you refer someone to me, now I know I did a good job, right? So for me, it ends with referral, not just retention. But we want to focus on retention. So if we start with outreach, but we don't have proper acquisition, then your leads are not going to convert, right? Or maybe we have some additional work we need to be doing in outreach because we don't have the right lead. And maybe that's related to messaging. Maybe it's related to it's the wrong audience. And until we go deep into these quadrants in the framework, we don't really know what's broken. But yet we keep investing money because we don't even know how to know what's broken. And that's where Streamline Scale Framework comes in, because Streamline Scale Framework is going to teach you how to know what's broken and what to fix next, so that when you're making investments into marketing or other related technology, you're doing it from a position of power because you've defined what your system is going to, what your system looks like. Hopefully that makes sense. So now it's time for your homework. So I said I was going to make this, I don't want to make this short. I want to keep these to just about 30 minutes or less. And so let's talk about your assignment. I know this is a lot. Make sure that you registered for this event. If you're viewing this now and you have not registered for this event, make sure to do so, because that's how I know to send you the slides. Also, the workbook, there's a couple tweaks we need to make to it, but the slides in the workbook will be sent to those people who are registered. And also, again, if you're in the midst and you have questions as we're going through this, I'll share how to get in touch with me at the end. But also, you can always schedule a Boss Connect chat. And that is an opportunity for us to have a conversation about your business. Let me just, where did that go? Oh, let's see. You can schedule that anytime. So now let's talk about your homework. First, what you want to do is create a vision of your business in its ideal state. In other words, I want you to begin with the end in mind and think about what would it take. The clarifying questions. Let me go back, actually. So I want you to start in the retention, the lower left quadrant with retention. And you see the clarifying question here is, how do we onboard new customers in a way that makes them feel valued, maximizes their success, and naturally encourages them to refer others? So in other words, you already know what your product is. The product piece is not what we're talking about when we're talking about the revenue engine. Is how we monetize the product. So with retention, when we talk about retention, what we want to do is, what do I want my customer's experience to be? When I did this exercise for myself, one of the things that I discovered is I really want to have an ecosystem. In other words, it's not enough. Like, I'm going to share this framework with you today, but you can't just share something significant like this framework with someone one time and then expect that it's going to really take root and benefit you the way it could to at the optimal level. So one of the things I added based on starting with the end in mind, like old Stephen Covey, is that I added a community that I would use to share tools and templates and techniques and interviews and things like that. And I would build into it the ability to have challenges for the members that were designed to help you move up the ladder of understanding and grow your business at the same time. That came from looking at retention as part of my revenue engine. And then when we go back, if we started retention, then we say, if we're talking about acquisition, the question is, and I'm just going to read it, how do we effectively guide leads through the discovery process to clearly demonstrate our solutions, value, and convert them into paying customers without adding friction or unnecessary steps? So for me, what that looked like was I created a couple of downloadables. I created a scale ready systems checklist because it was low resistance. It's something that can give immediate value that people can download right away. And it helps to introduce them to the concept of scalable systems, the concept of what's possible with technology without adding resistance or a lot of time on my part to call, follow up, offer, which I still do that. But to the extent that we can expose people to our business over time, it's going to be effective, right? And I don't know what the current statistic is. I have to look up the current one, but I think it's 7 to 10 times exposures before anyone even makes a buying decision. So if you can automate some of that 7 to 10 with some value added content, then that's going to save you time and effort as well. And then we back up. Finally, we go to outreach. And then this is where we connect the dots and we look and we, based on what marketing I was doing and the retention of where I want to take this relationship with this customer journey, do I have the right customer avatar? Is my advertising and my marketing being presented in the right locations to get the eyeballs of my true people? That's why we start backwards, right? So begin with the end in mind, start with retention, create a vision, ideal state. I recommend you write it, right? So the workbook is going to have lines, but I really anticipate this is going to take a lot more. It took pages for me to do this. The second thing I want you to do is, with this vision in mind, I want you to go back and answer the clarifying questions for each quadrant. And I want you to do this in detail, in as much detail as possible. Why? Because even though we're building an engine, and part of what makes this engine effective and sustainable, and it has the ability to run and deliver revenue to us over and over again, is because it's providing the same content. The reason it's going to help you get more referrals is because now the people who do business with you know what to expect, and they can share with their friends and colleagues because they know what it looks like to do business with you, right? And so we want to make sure that as much as possible, we're building into the engine those touch points. Well, so that would include any processes that are needed, any documents or tools or marketing materials. So I added a downloadable checklist and an ebook and a community. What you add will be specific to your business. And then any events, you might have a business that does well more with events. People, maybe they want to touch and feel the thing that you offer, the product that you offer. That's going to be specific to your business. But the point is that as you're creating this vision and you're establishing the framework for your revenue engine, this is the level of detail you want to go into. Now, don't be afraid of that, because even though you're going to go into detail, you don't have to do everything at once. You're not going to do everything at once. You're going to have that 30,000 foot view so that you can plan out what you do need to do. And at least you're not being blindsided. You know what you need to do. So that's why we want to approach it in that way. Now, after you've done your homework, so you got a whole week to do your homework. That's why this is a 4-week masterclass, because it's 1 week, one assignment, and time to do it and think about it. Because for something like creating the vision for what you're building, you want to noodle on it. You need to put some time and some thought into it. Maybe you want to talk to some of your customers. So that's something that you want to have time to do. So that gives you a week to actually spend some time on that. So what's next? In the following 3 weeks, what we're going to do on Thursdays at 7 p.m. is we're going to dig deeper into each quadrant. So we're covering week one with the introduction today. We're not going into detail about the systems and metrics today because what we're going to do is we're going to look at each quadrant and we're going to talk about the metrics that make sense as we talk about the quadrant. So in week two, when we talk about outreach, these are kind of the detailed things that we want to have in place. You need to have your value proposition, your target audience definition, your marketing strategy, and your marketing plan, which are two different things. You want to implement your marketing plan and you want to have lead management. You have to have a way to manage those leads. There's a lot of work in there. And if you think about how perhaps you've been approaching marketing to date and you look at that list, you may be questioning and saying, whoa, wait a minute. The only thing I've done so far is I ran some ads. The ability of your ads to be productive and effective are going to hinge on the effectiveness and the way you approach these items in the orange quadrant in the upper right. In the lower right, we have acquisition. So in that question where we say, oh, my leads aren't converting, lead generation, a compelling offer. What are you offering people when you do run those ads? What are you offering them that makes them want to connect with you or makes them want to let loose of their hard-earned cash? That's your compelling offer. Do you need a sales presentation? It doesn't have to be a slide deck, but maybe how are you interacting with your lead to show them how your product or service can solve their problem? That's your sales presentation, however you do it. It could be in person, it could be a deck, it could be a webinar, whatever it is, you decide for your business what that's going to look like. And then discovery support is about, and we'll go into this in detail. This is just overview. We'll go into this in detail when the week comes. But discovery support is about how do you take them on the journey to get to know about your product or service. So you need to have a way to do that. Maybe it's a Boss Connect chat. Maybe it's a demo. Maybe it's an event, a webinar. You have to decide that for you. But just taking the time to think about it in your visioning is going to help you to really create that engine that's going to fuel your growth. Acceptance. What do you do? How do you get paid? What happens after someone decides to do business with you? How do you exchange value? How is that offered? Is it just a single sell? Are you going to upsell something? Do they get something new? Do they get an offer? You've got to think that through. If you sell cookies, do you have a t-shirt you want to go with that? How do you want your customers to be wearing your products? How do you want your business to show up? That's what we're crafting with this vision statement. And then finally with retention is what's going to happen when you get a new customer? What type of communication do they get? What type of guidance do they get? How do you deliver your product? Is it a downloadable? Is it an email? Is it a video? How is it a community that they log into? How are you going to deliver that? What type of training are you going to provide them? If you're selling cookies, maybe you don't need training, but maybe you want to offer them some recipes. Maybe you'll communicate something about entertaining. There's a ton of things you could do to endear your customers to you. That's what the level of detail that we want to get to with this assignment. And then customer support, how will you support them? If they have questions, how do they do it? Is it a chat bot on your website? Is it a text message? How does that happen? And once they become your customer, how are you going to stay connected with them? What I decided out of this is I have a blog now on my website I'm doing the newsletters on LinkedIn as well, but I added a blog because I want to take advantage of my domain and build a domain reputation. So I started redirecting and making decisions like that. And then how are your customers going to give you referrals? Part of the barrier to getting customer referrals is that people don't really know what to do. So how do you do that? That's all part of the assignment. So we're going to talk about acquisition. Week 4, we're going to talk about retention. Now, the reason why it's important for you to do this assignment in advance is because we're going to use this to build. So don't take the assignment lightly. I really want you to take this seriously and really focus in on what are you building, because we're creating this engine to support the business you're building. So we can take your business to a whole nother level. You already have a business. I got it. But what I'm saying is that this business that you're building now, the engine you're building, is going to be something you can't really set it and forget it. But when you go to iterate, when you think about what you want to change, you have a baseline to start from, and you can prioritize it. And so that's why it's important to go deep, put as much detail in it as possible, and come to the next session with your questions. Now, that is it. That is your assignment. That is the first week one of Streamline Scale and Soar. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this information. I thank you for your attention. Now, if you have questions, you can definitely post your questions in the chat thread. I'll be monitoring the thread for this event, looking for questions. And also, you can text me directly at 248-988-9099. So I will respond that way. And if I can't respond right away, I'll let you know, and we'll add it to the list of questions for next week's session. If you have not registered for this masterclass series, you can go to getcrystallizedAgency.com/events-masterclass, or you can scan this QR code here if you happen to be looking at this in a way that you can scan the code. And I'll see you next week at 7 p.m. for Streamline, Scale, and Soar. Bye for now. I hope that you enjoyed this session, and make sure to comment and let me know what you think. Bye for now. See you next week.